League mates, gather round. The scrolls have been read, the prophets have spoken, and once again the sacred power rankings have been carved into stone. Only to shatter into dust by week one. These rankings are less 10 commandments and more like a fortune cookie, written by a drunk uncle, full of confidence, zero accuracy. The so-called prophecy said some squads were destined for glory and others doomed to the basement. But here we are, already watching the mighty fall harder than a bro failing a squat without a spotter. Welcome to the era of false prophets. Turns out these power rankings were less gospel and more like bro science at Planet Fitness. Let's recap on the preseason rankings, aka the false prophecy. We had crop tops in the 1 spot, Bananahead at 2, Cougars at 3, Sanchez in the 4 spot, Go Bills Deep at 5, Funbag 6, Coyotes 7, Team Sam Doroff at 8, the new improved Penguins at 9, Suck Exchange at 10, Yip at 11, the Freezers at 12. Now that week one's in the books, let's go ahead and recap. Fucking Bananahead, 160 points, flexed that number 2 ranking, dropped the week's highest score, and instantly claimed the throne. The Bananahead is now wearing the power rankings crown like it was preordained. San Diego Cougars, 151 points, clawed their way through Sam Doroff's team like a cougar at happy hour. A clean, dominant W to back up the number 3 preseason spot. Barbecue Sanchez, 139 points. Cooked the Blaze Penguin crispy. Barbecue sauce applied, penguin meat served, looking every bit like a top 4 juggernaut. Go Bills Deep, 110 points. Josh Allen Magic strikes the Coyotes, who posted the fantasy equivalent of a participation trophy. New York Suck Exchange, 130 points. From preseason 10 to instant contender. The exchange cashed in while Healthy Funbag sagged to the basement. Crop tops and power bottoms. 123 points. Barely squeaked by Yip in a pillow fight of projected points. Might still ride high, but week one left a lot of crop top belly exposed. Yip, 122 points. Lost by less than 1 point, but a loss is a loss, big guy. Yip living up to the preseason bottom feeder forecast. Ebenezer's Freezers, 129 points. Solid output, but ran into Bananahead's buzzsaw. Still frozen at 0-1. Team Sam Doroff, 136 points. Put up a respectable fight, but the Cougars were too much. Still bottom tier vibes flowing. The Blaze Penguin, 124 points. Got roasted by Barbecue. A tuxedo bird waddling straight into an 0-1 hole. Harlan Coyotes, 82 points. Bro, that wasn't just a loss, that was a crime scene. The cops saw your roster and said, thanks for all those donuts. Worst score of the week by 15 plus. Healthy Funbags, 97 points. Anything but healthy. More like deflated airbags, 0-1, and dead last in vibes, big guy. Let's adjust those power rankings after week one. Fucking Bananahead, you're definitely in the 1 spot. 1-0, highest score. Number 2, San Diego Cougars, 1-0, big W. Number 3, Barbecue Sanchez, 1-0, solid outing. 4, New York Suck Exchange, 1-0 with that big old breakout. Go Bills Deep, 1-0 with a steady W. 6, Crop Tops and Power Bottoms. You squeaked by, but you got the 1-0. Ebenezer Freezers, 0-1, but respectable points. Number 8, Team Sam Doroff, 0-1. He had a decent showing, but just not quite there. Blaze Penguin, you're in the 9 spot, 0-1, cooked alive. 10, Yip, close but ugly, projection gap. 11, Healthy Funbags, 0-1, with a limp start. 12, Arlen Coyotes scored like they forgot to set a lineup. Your own one, big guy. Bottom line, Bananahead is king of the jungle. Cougars are hunting. Sanchez is serving smoked meat, and the Coyotes are already roadkill. But enough about the rest of you bums. Let's shift the spotlight to the man of the hour, the dude who peeled back the competition, mashed his opponents into a smoothie, and sits atop the Buff Boyz throne after week one. Ladies and gentlemen, grab your potassium because we're going one on one with the league's top dog, fucking Bananahead himself. Stay tuned, folks. We're joined by the week one scoring champ. Congratulations, big dog. Welcome to the show. You just dropped the highest score in the entire league. So tell us, how's it feel? Are the vibes through the roof right now, big guy?
Yeah, I'd say the vibes are pretty high. Good to have a week one win under the belt, be $20 richer. And I do have to say, though, I think I'm feeling a bit concerned about the team. RJ Harvey's sort of lack of production with J.K. Dobbins. And I didn't expect Loveland to be off to a hot start, but I didn't expect it to be that quiet. Still the ongoing uncertainty in Cleveland and Godwin situation. So a little thin, but feeling okay.
All right. It's funny that you mentioned $20 richer, because I got to know, was that just a masterclass in fantasy management or the equivalent of finding $20 in your couch cushion?
I can. I don't think there was any really tough decisions to make other than like Dak versus T Law, and I kind of fucked that one up. But yeah, I think the lineup's kind of constructed as there's basically 11 guys to start, and I just throw them in there, so makes my decisions easy week to week.
That makes sense. I mean, just all around, congratulations again. You dropped the week one nuke on us all. So that just really brings me up to that first, maybe third question we're on to now. Did your opponent Ebenezer Freezers just forget to plug in the freezer and let their entire roster melt? Or what are you thinking there? Do you think they just completely left it undone and were just like, nah, Bananahead, melt us away, buddy?
Um, I know Neil as Ebenezer Freezer is in a slow build mode. So I would say he probably doesn't care about his team score at the moment. He's got his young upside guys. Um, Perhaps he wanted a little bit better first week, but I think that, it's like takes 4 or 5 weeks for a team to even get going in 2025's NFL. So who knows? Who knows?
That's fair. I mean, scoring 160 points, that's pretty rare in our league. I'll say rare, but the three dynasty teams that we have right now, the three top three, I feel like we do it pretty often, but it's still a good feat to make. Um, do you feel bad bullying Ebenezer's Freezers that bad? Like, did you really enjoy smacking around that team that sounds like an abandoned ice cream truck?
I like don't even know how I would respond to that if it was just like me or you. So I think I just like might like shake my head.
All right, moving right along.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving right along. Um, so the San Diego Cougars, they put up a strong performance, 151 points. It's respectable, but compared to you, it looked like a participation trophy. Did you even break a sweat on this one?
Well, usually I'm not playing in these games. So I would say no sweat was broken. Um, However, I did take a pretty tough double tiered shit this morning and blew a gasket, so I have been working up a sweat.
Respectable. Sometimes those poops, they'll get you. Let's talk about the rest of the league. Yep, they scored 122 points, which is cute. Arlen Coyotes, I mean, didn't even break 83 points. Were you inspired by how pathetic the bottom feeders looked, or did you just want to remind everyone there's levels to this?
Yeah, I think just going back to what I said, it's too early to be talking shit, I would say, but I think, these different teams in our league are constructed differently, which is, I think, the beauty of Dynasty. And, um, you know, there's like some super studs that just laid eggs this past week. So I feel like, also, I know Arlen Coyotes has Xavier Worthy. So Andrew probably shot a zero for Worthy's stat line. And um, I haven't looked back at like Brandon or other teams. But yeah, to answer that seriously, like, no, I don't think there's any real semblance of tiers. It's more of just like where players are at currently and where players are at in terms of like getting ramped up this year, and also like where teams are at in regard to their construction.
Fair enough, except for healthy fun bags. I mean, they got to be way down the fucking bottom tier, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Fucking A. Anyway, all right, moving right along. We're going into the Blaze Penguin here. They waddled into week one and got cooked by the barbecue Sanchez. Healthy fun bags weren't healthy and definitely not fun. Do you feel like the only adult in daycare full of toddlers with a head cold?
Uh, pa-
No, but
I think that Barbecue Sanchez has just propelled his team, excuse me, a lot like his real life Washington football team as sort of a rented out 1 year, go for it all, go for the gusto, destined to be bounced out of divisional round and then fall apart trying to pick up the pieces at the start of next year.
that makes sense. I could totally see that happening. Sucks to suck, but let's just jump back to the champ here and say, hey, you just dropped 160 points. We're going to go back to that. Are you worried that you peaked too early, or should we just rename the league Bananahead's house at this time?
No, I'm not too. I'm not worried. I think there was a lot of meat left on the bone, especially for like Dak and T Law and stuff. And hopefully Godwin comes back. I am concerned now about like the young running backs I have in that situation. But I'd say I'm like half chubbed. Going back to what I said before, like happy to win, good to see some players get moving. But the ones I really wanted to like see and like hope that they would kind of jump off this season hasn't happened yet. So yeah, kind of like waiting on bated breath.
Totally makes sense. And we'll get back to that Chubb status in just a moment's time here.
Mm.
But for right now, let's talk about the vibe in your locker room. Have you talked to the boys? Have you said, like, hey guys, how you feel after week one? Are they rallying around the win, or is your bench just demanding more playing time? What do you think?
Well, I'd say I like what I've been seeing from our leadership. Um, been liking what I've seen from the leadership, the vet guys in the locker room. However, I do. This is an opportunity for Team fucking Banana Head to state we we are aware of what happened with Dak Prescott and hawking a loogie at Jalen Carter at the beginning of um, Thursday's game, and that does not represent the ethos of Team fucking Banana Head. So we've had a talk, and we'll get it right in week two.
Respect that, get that boy in line, because if you're really taking things one week at a time, keeping those boys in line, it makes me wonder, did you already print your championship t-shirt yet, or are we just taking it one week at a time and talking those boys, getting them in line again?
Well, I have the trophy within earshot over here.
Oh, there it
Um,
is.
and I am continuing to discuss potential annual league winning shirts, including the Buff Boys logo and team
Love that.
logo. So San Diego Cougars may be having one coming to them, and whoever the champ is in 25 as well, um, which is a good sort of opportunity to say there's some like league changes I'm thinking about and I want to discuss with the league. But no, to answer your question directly, no, we've not printed yet.
Okay, well, fair enough. I'm a gambler. Clearly, you know that. Send a lot of potential parlays to the league. So let's just go ahead and put this out there. Would you be willing to bet your entire fab that week two you'll be able to put up the most points again?
No.
Fair enough. All right. Fair enough. All right, so that just leaves me the one final question for the banana heads as of right now. Before we jump into just league chat and discuss potential changes going forward. And this is the real question that I know everybody watching wants to know. How big is your week one chub? Are we talking 6 o'clock or full midnight?
Are we talking? Are you asking about length or just hardness?
Let's start it with a part two, one of two here. Let's talk length first. Is it peaking, or are we still just slowly getting there? And in the second part, are you just sitting there looking at your roster and you're like, oh, there's an 8 o'clock. Ooh, now we're full midnight. Where
Yeah,
where do we stand?
yeah. To be honest, I'm back to like 5 o'clock after looking at the lineup. Really don't like the decisions I have to make at one of three flex spots. Um, yeah, and I think there's time will tell. But I am no longer half chubbed. I am slowly going into myself.
I respect that. Very well said, sir. All around. I think now is that perfect time to jump into a little segment I call the Muscle Minute. It lets us discuss the league and share some thoughts. So, with that being said, is there anything you wish you set up as a league setting at the start of the league?
Yeah, I know you talked a little bit about this. I think in retrospect, perhaps it would have been fun to do like a tight end premium in the league. Um, I like the payout structure. Obviously, it's what I was conceiving. I like rewarding highest points. I like the structure in the playoffs. No, I think just tight end premium and maybe would have switched to like a tiering PPR structure.
Okay.
Not just for tight end premium, but maybe like 0.75 for wideouts or something and zero point 0.5 for running back.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've been toying with. Or that's what I've been kind of thinking up a little bit and be interesting. And then there's like little league changes I want to potentially propose. But I always want to hear from you guys first.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with some of those changes in mind, is there anything that you think would be the go-to right away before that you have in the works that you want to propose to the league?
I think the playoff structure is number one. We did that. We kind of did we had a bit of a learning curve, I think, after the first year with like the buys in week 14. And so, we had that sort of change, which was retroactively taking week 16 and putting that into week 17. So it's a 2 week final. I do like that. I really do like that as 2 week totals for the championship. Um, I don't know, maybe changing like some waiver settings, like maybe players clear waivers earlier. Um, or waivers are open more days, or they're free agents except for Sunday or something like that.
Yeah,
I
I
but
actually like that a lot, because there's so many times that things are changing, especially day to day basis in the NFL, right? There could be a practice all of a sudden one of your guys tweaks a hamstring, right?
Yeah,
And now that guy that you would possibly try and pick up to replace him is on waivers, right? Because it's not going to clear until maybe Saturday, or I think we have Wednesday and Saturday, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. I
yeah,
can't remember.
yeah. No,
So,
you're right. Wednesday and Saturday in the off season.
Yeah. So sometimes it's kind of nice to just be able to go in there and be like, all right, I see my guy went down. I'm being proactive. Let me just see what's going on with this guy, you know? But,
Yeah.
that's something we can look into, you know? I still think the league is young, but it's progressing exactly where it needs to be. I'm pretty happy about it personally. The only thing I personally was thinking too is I feel like a lot of people in the league are engaged and they're constantly active within the group chat, right? But there's still a few that I don't know. It's like crickets. So I'm trying to think of is there any way we can pull everyone in again and get them all fully interactive again? So I don't know. This is just some quick ideas that I came up with. And like I said, it's just bouncing ideas off. I think we did this in another league at one point, but you remember it was like a pick'em thing. So like it was through Yahoo though, so that was the only thing that made it a lot easier to do it that way, right? But everyone got a chance to say who's going to win in every matchup throughout week one, right?
Yeah.
The person that got them the most right in that league, we decided to give them like $5, actual cash or something like that. But instead of doing that, what if I don't know if there's a
Interesting.
way to do this, but give them $5 of extra fab or something like that. So this way it doesn't take away from our total pie. But like let's say the
Yeah.
worst team gets all the teams right? And then they got $5 extra fab. Now they can possibly bulk up their team and maybe actually have a better team than just, the bottom feeders like fucking healthy fun bags or whatever.
So what you're thinking is doing like sort of like a pigskin pick'em, but for the league matchup specifically,
Correct.
and then the
Correct.
winners of those, like let's say it's like wins and losses, but then like tiebreakers would be like difference in total points or something like that.
Yeah, we'd
Uh,
have to work that out, but
yeah, and then the winner would be awarded like additional fab dollars. That's kind
yeah.
of fun. That's a cool idea.
I don't know if it would be easy to implement, obviously,
Oh yeah,
but
I would just go in and add $5 to whatever team. It's not a problem. Um, I don't know how much that would like get the league more engaged. If it, I feel like actual dollars, like side betting, actually might do it more.
yeah.
Um, it's a fun idea. Um, yeah, I don't really have like a direct response to it other than I like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's just opening the door, right? We're
Yeah.
proposing ideas, we're talking it out loud, and eventually everyone's going to see this, and then we go from there. So,
The one thing I was gonna say though is like I do love the addition of. Well, first of all, I love that you're doing this. The fact that like we took this loser penalty and turned it into like actually something, and now we're like having a serious conversation on channel is so funny and actually cool. But the addition of Ian and Zach is like just what we needed. Like those are two fresh guys. They really want to get into Dynasty and they're like hungry and obviously you've seen them doing lots of trades, but also like the subtraction of Full Send who was like totally absent for the last like year and a half. So I think like that's a great way to get more
uh,
juice involved, you know.
yeah, I mean, that's going to be a great way to, keep everyone engaged, and you get the guys that actually want to be here. Not to say everybody else didn't want to be here, right? But you kind of get that new blood in there, and just like when Dave took over
Right.
for Mark, all of a sudden it took something that seemed like, oh man, don't kill this dynasty already. We just barely got it off the ground, right? And all of a sudden we got that jolt of energy again. So I definitely think that's, going to be a way going forward as well, too. I know this is maybe silly or something like that because we already have a loser penalty, right? But I was also thinking, what if it was like mini loser penalties almost in a way? So like thinking practical jokers, you got a bunch of guys that are just having a good old time, right? And they're out in public and they're just telling people to do outlandish fucking stupid shit. So let's say, for example, I don't know. Let's say I have the lowest point total in week one, whatever, and you had the highest. Now, you being the highest, you say, hey, Steve, why don't you go outside and try and find three people that you can just say, hey, man, I just went to the gym. Check out these deltoids, baby. And you just have to have that recorded as a mini loser punishment, or something along those lines. Or, you have to go on Facebook Marketplace, right? And you have to DM anybody you possibly can and just ask them, so do you guys sell creatine suppositories or what? And if they say yes, you have to buy it. It's an instant buy. You're just like, well, shit, I guess I'm buying some from you, buddy. I don't know, just like something to just get everybody involved. We could do it as something as silly as push-ups. If you get the lowest point total, you have to do 30 push-ups. While you're doing it, you're recording yourself saying, I will never lose that fantasy football ever again.
Okay, you're a nut, dude. I think having weekly loser penalties for Dynasty doesn't make sense.
Okay, fair
Um,
enough.
but the general idea, yeah, not to just like shit on what you said because I find it very funny. So I don't think it makes sense for Dynasty because of uh the structure for some is like a race to the bottom, right?
Sure.
Um, and that's why I like it at the very end of the year. It's like loser penalty exists because it's like in my opinion, I know we've talked about this at nauseum in the group chats and stuff. It's like I don't think you should be awarded for making sure that your team sucks. I
Yeah.
think like if you're gonna race to the bottom, you should have to pay some sort of premium to do so, and that's what the loser penalty is. And like it's harmless loser penalties.
Yeah.
I think everyone would agree except maybe Sam and Matt, um, or maybe Sam would. Um, Yeah. So, but the weekly thing, I really do like that as like something to get involved. And maybe it's not points. Maybe it's like the person who has the worst record in head-to-head match. Oh, sorry, like the worst predicted. Right. So, like the person who wins the matchup predictions, they get some money, and the loser has to do something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. So it's not associated
Okay.
with your team, but it's more associated with like your bets. Does that make?
Yeah, I like it. I'm just gonna throw this last one out there. A prank phone call loser penalty. Okay, you ready? So, if you have the worst total for the entire week, you have to call any number you can possibly dial, all the digits. Whoever it is, they answer. Hey, I just got to really tell you about my fantasy football team and how bad it was this week. And you just have to dive into it, right? Just tell them everything until they hang up. And then once they hang up, game over. You're done. You're off your punishment. But I just think that would be a hilarious way to tell somebody random about how bad your fantasy football team that did that week and just say, oh my God, Xavier Worthy, he got hurt. First play of the game, 0 points. He got me a fucking donut, dude. I don't know.
Uh, I love that. I mean, that brings me back to like 2001 when we had like nothing to do growing up.
Exactly.
And it was like just thumbing through the yellow pages and calling some random numbers. Uh, yeah, let's figure out a way to do that.
I think it'd
And
just
then,
be hilarious, right?
oh, it'd be good. Yeah, and I think the funniest part about that is like the person who's really getting penalized here is the random person whose number gets selected.
Exactly.
Like I just think about like my dad getting called. My dad like has no idea, like, just like or my anyone over the age, anyone who's not playing fantasy football is going to be extremely confused. I love that. I just actually want to go back because I have this tab in our doc in our Buff Boys Dynasty League Google Doc that like for league makeover suggestions. So it is in there. Tab's called League Makeover Suggestions. You can add anything in there. I put a few things in here, and I just want to like bring them up. Uh, one was the playoff structure that we talked about earlier. Also, potentially removing or adding additional IR spots, adding a a fifth round to the rookie draft. Also, similarly, I kind of like the idea of adding a compensatory pick. Um,
Okay.
for one of two things. One is if a player you have has retired or had a career-ending injury. That's how that works. Like it mirrors the NFL similarly as like, you know, the Jets lost a big player, so they get in free agency who was acquired elsewhere, so they get a compensatory pick in the real life NFL draft. I kind of like it as like some players' career ended due to an injury or maybe retirement. I feel like retirement doesn't quite fall into this as much as like an early career ender. So like I was thinking like Jordan Travis, he was like the backup for the Jets for a year and then like retired. I think he was on Andrew's team. Like, wasn't expecting that, which sucks. Maybe he gets like one final additional pick at the end of the fourth round rookie draft, or he gets additional fab or something like that. That's like a fun kind of idea I've been toying with, and like to think of like things in that round that like mirror the NFL but would work for Dynasty.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna circle back to something real
Yeah,
quick
I
and
guess.
say, going back to the newbies that came in through the league, uh, they hit the scene like a Venice Beach pump sesh. They were loud grunts, cheap shades, and way too much baby oil used. But I gotta say, rebuilding someone else's roster is no easy lift. But we've seen it before with crop tops. We're now seeing it with the blazed Gwins, loading plates and just chasing gains. I just want to let them know, thanks for their due diligence jumping in the league as well too. I think we said it before, but I really do appreciate them, showing their grit. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to give them a little shout out there.
hip hip hooray! Yeah, thanks guys. It's good to
Yeah.
have them, and I
you
think
know
they've done some good work for sure. I think Ian and Zach knew like what that team needed to do based off this current structure of it. Like get rid of these vets and kind of build up from there. And
I mean, if it wasn't for Crop Top, I wouldn't have had the undefeated season that I did. I mean, he took that risk of getting rid of Lamar, right? And he took a pretty big jump of faith taking all those draft picks to do it. But hey, it worked out for both of us.
yeah,
He started to rebuild his squad, and now in the end, you're kind of seeing it with the Blaze Penguin, like that big trade that we just saw. I mean, got rid of some vets again, got some good players in return, some draft picks. So I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing.
yeah.
Um, and that just really leads me to saying for you, sir, fucking banana heads. Just thank you for taking the time to be on the show. We really appreciate it. You're a first guest. That's something to be pretty proud of.
Thank you.
Yeah. And really just explaining your week one dominance. I mean, you just really mastered that total dookie on that toilet that you're talking about. You just really dropped it right on top of the entire league. Those biceps are looking more jacked than ever. And just keep doing what you're doing, buddy. I just really wanted to give you the props there for that week one.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm gonna say this now, and I'm gonna send it back to the studio, and we'll see what happens on the next episode. That's a wrap, boys. See you all in the next episode. For now, and as always, signing off. FYC. That's how it's done.